This film overall tells the story of a woman named Harper, who recently experienced trauma from being abandoned by her husband, who committed suicide by jumping from the roof of their house. This incident was witnessed directly by his wife through the window of their home. The story follows a woman named Harper. At that time, Harper was heading to a remote village far from her city residence. Harper's goal in coming to this village was to try to forget the horrifying incident involving her and her lover named James. Their love story was very complicated. It is known that the conflict between her and James led to him deciding to take his own life. This incident severely troubled Harper. She needed peace or a vacation to heal from the trauma she experienced. She arrived at a beautiful and fairly large house, planning to rent it and stay there for a while. The lush environment with the sound of birds singing seemed suitable for Harper to calm her mind in that house. Jeffrey, the owner of the house, was already waiting for Harper's arrival. Jeffrey seemed very welcoming to Harper. After touring the house, Jeffrey excused himself as he lived far from that house. Meanwhile, we are shown flashbacks of when Harper was still with her husband James. Their incompatibility always led to severe arguments, to the point where Harper asked James for a divorce. Harper felt she could no longer live with James and was truly fed up and wanted to separate. However, James did not want to separate, let alone divorce Harper. James loved Harper deeply, and to him, Harper was a part of his life. James couldn't live without Harper, and even threatened to take his own life if Harper left him. To clear her mind, Harper thought a walk might help. She decided to walk into the forest near the house she was staying in. The beautiful scenery made Harper feel at home, and she didn't realize she had walked quite far. The journey led her to an abandoned tunnel in the forest. She hesitated at first, but eventually decided to enter the tunnel. At first, being inside the tunnel was enjoyable because of the unique echoing sounds. Soon after, she saw someone standing in the distance, slowly approaching her. Scared, Harper hurriedly left, noticing that the person was still following her. After running quite a distance, Harper assumed that the person had stopped following her. The next day, while Harper was in the kitchen, she didn't realize that the person she saw in the forest the previous day was still following her and was now watching her. At that time, she was calling her friend named Riley. During the video call, Harper showed Riley that the place she was staying at was perfect. Harper then noticed the person she saw in the forest was now in her yard. He was a naked man picking apples. Harper, who began to feel scared, immediately called the police. She noticed the man trying to enter the house. Fortunately, Harper quickly closed and locked the door. Soon the police arrived and apprehended the man. The police explained that the man was not dangerous. He did not resist arrest and seemed to be suffering from memory loss. The scene then returns to the past when Harper was still with James, showing the moments leading up to James's suicide. They had a fierce argument, and James lost control, hitting Harper and causing her to fall. James felt deeply remorseful for hitting Harper. He begged and apologized profusely to Harper. However, the incident made Harper feel fed up and convinced her to separate from James. Harper did not give James a chance to apologize and drove him out. Harper also said she no longer cared if James wanted to kill himself. She would never stop him from dying. Harper's words hurt James, who was already in an unstable condition at that time. On that day, James truly lost his mind and jumped from the apartment building. Ironically, Harper witnessed James's fall through the window, feeling a mix of guilt and not wanting to part in such a tragic way. Since then, Harper has been haunted by the shadows of her past with James. Harper once visited a church not far from her current home. She hoped that praying would help heal her anguish. There, she met a pastor. The pastor could tell Harper had a lot on her mind. Harper began to open up and share her problems with the pastor. However, the pastor seemed to blame Harper. According to the pastor, if only Harper had given James a chance to apologize, he might not have committed suicide. Hearing this made Harper angry, because it was not appropriate for the pastor to blame someone for something that had already happened. Harper stopped by a bar to seek some entertainment. There she met Jeffrey and the police officer who had arrested the man at her house. However, she heard that the police had released the man because there were no serious charges to imprison him. Harper was disappointed with the police because the man could return to her house. At that moment, Harper was on the verge of giving up on her situation. To her, there was no place left for her to live peacefully. The house, which initially felt pleasant, had now become a terror for Harper. In the yard, she saw the police officer standing there. Feeling puzzled, she approached him, but strangely, he remained silent, and then suddenly disappeared. Oddities began to occur. Apples fell by themselves, and suddenly the police officer came and started chasing her. The house lights suddenly went out, and Harper hid in the kitchen while holding a knife for protection. Shortly after, she heard the window glass shatter as if someone was trying to get in. Fortunately, Jeffrey arrived because he heard a commotion at Harper's house. When Jeffrey checked the house, it turned out that the window had been hit by a crow. Jeffrey then inspected the area around the house to ensure there was nothing there. However, the naked man suddenly appeared again in front of her. Harper managed to evade him and closed the door. Seeing that one of his hands was trying to get in, Harper immediately stabbed him. As she tried to avoid him, things became even stranger. The naked man now appeared as the pastor she met at the church, with his hand split into two parts after being stabbed by Harper. Eventually, Harper stabbed him again until he fell. Harper then drove away from the house. But as she approached the gate, Jeffrey unexpectedly stood in the middle of the road and was hit by Harper. But then Jeffrey took the car, and shortly after he returned to hit Harper. Fortunately, Harper managed to evade him. Suddenly the man reappeared, but his leg was now broken, and his belly began to swell. From his belly emerged another being, which turned out to be the person she met at the church. The condition was the same, with the belly swelling, and again from the belly, another being emerged. Now the pastor. Harper seemed indifferent to what was happening, and left. The pastor experienced the same thing as the others. This time the creature emerged from the pastor's back. He now appeared as Jeffrey. Shortly after, another being emerged. However, this time from his mouth, but now it was James, Harper's deceased husband. Every creature that emerged from the bodies had wounds similar to those on James when he committed suicide. The oddities happening to Harper were caused by the wandering ghost of James, who had been following and haunting her. James became a ghost because his love for Harper carried on after death. At that moment, Harper, feeling resigned and not knowing what else to do, asked James what he truly wanted from her. James's spirit always said he only needed Harper's love in return. James needed Harper's love so he could rest in peace. After Harper accepted James's love, the film ended. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.